There is something quietly tragic about being a gifted kid. The label of being intelligent or smart often becomes a golden cage, right? You grow up hearing that you're special. You're praised for not trying, for thinking that things just work out for you because you are gifted. And that trains your nervous system to subtly believe that effort itself is a red flag. That struggling means something's wrong. That if you're not instantly good at something, you are somehow just a failure. And this is not just a childhood phase, this becomes a framework through which many of us adults silently suffer, stuck, disconnected, and unaware why nothing feels fulfilling anymore. So, in this video, we are going to understand that how to unlearn this identity of that being smart is my whole personality, right? And most importantly, how do you move forward from then on? The number one thing is rebuild the identity. The first step is letting go of the idea that your intelligence is your value. James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, said that every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become, which clearly reminds us that growth does not come from potential, it comes from doing. Intelligence is not what sets you apart, it's what you do with it, time and time again, that shapes who you become eventually. The shift is not about proving yourself, it's about practicing who you want to be. Now, real strength is not how intelligent you are, but it's about how willing you are. Start with asking, what can I learn from even if I fail? That single shift reframes the discomfort from threat to an invitation. Number two, embrace the messy middle. People often assume that progress should feel good. But as Susan David, the author of Emotional Agility, writes that discomfort is the price of admission to a meaningful life. Now, the truth is that all growth is awkward at first because you are literally trying to let go of your old frequency, of your old patterns, of your old habits. And that is why it is uncomfortable. That is the only reason. And when your identity is built upon appearing competent, trying something new can feel like standing literally naked in a crowd. Vulnerable, embarrassing. But that is not a signal to back away. That is indeed a signal. That's the emotional proof that you are trying something real. We live in a world that rewards performance, but healing and growth don't perform well. They take place in silence, in slowness, in failed attempts, and quiet courage. Number two, from observation to participation. Go from observation to participation. Now, a lot of smart kids grow up feeling like they're just watching life happen instead of really living it. You understand people, it's a bit like always thinking two steps ahead of the conversation, planning your response, wondering if it will sound smart enough. So much so that what happens is that you're never fully even present. And presence is where the real connection lives. Neuroscience tells us that connection is not built in the thinking brain. However, it is built in the emotional centers like the limbic system. That part of the brain does not care how articulate you are. Rather, it responds to safety, to trust, to authenticity. So when you're stuck in your head, constantly analyzing the other person, they cannot feel you because you're not present. Real connection asks something different. It's not about performing well, it's about being emotionally available, showing up with your guard down, not rushing to fix or to impress or to over explain. And That's hard when you've spent years thinking that your life's value lies in being the smartest person in the room. But the truth is, the most human part, the part that feels, stumbles, and relates, is what connects to most. Brene Brown calls this power of vulnerability, the willingness to be seen not when you are polished, but when you are unsure. That's where belonging is born, not through your intellect, but through your humanness. Number three, stop solving yourself. Stop solving yourself. One of the biggest traps intelligent people fall into is trying to fix emotional pain with logic. But emotions do not respond to logic, they respond to compassion, attention, to being felt without being fixed. Trying to think your way into self worth is like trying to read about swimming instead of getting into the water. You can know all the right concepts, but until you experience them emotionally, nothing will change. Nothing. There was a phase when I kept feeling this heaviness every time I opened my laptop to work on my business, and I could not explain it, right? It wasn't burnout, it wasn't laziness, it was just this weird emptiness. And because I personally like understanding things, I keep trying to figure it out. Like, is this a limiting belief? Am I misaligned? Did something trigger this? I was just trying to make sense out of that, right? But nothing made it better because the more I tried to analyze it, the more disconnected I felt. And one day, I just gave up. I closed my laptop, sat by the window, and let myself feel it without needing to fix it. No spiritual reasoning, no trying to raise my vibration, just okay. I am just letting this feeling flow. In that moment, I understood something very valuable, which was that not every emotion is meant to be understood. Some just need space, and the moment I stopped fighting that feeling, it softened. It moved on its own. So instead of solving our sadness sometimes or overthinking our way of disconnection, try this. Sit with it. Let it breathe. Not because you're trying to make it go away, but because you're learning to make space for it. And I guess you're number four. Number four, stop hiding behind competence. Now, when you're used to being good at things, it's tempting to stay in spaces where you already shine. You choose tasks which you know very well, which you will excel at, avoid situations that might make you look unsure, and secretly fear being seen as an average. It's not pride, it's protection. I have done this more times than I can count. There used to be a time, and even now sometimes, in wherein in group meetings I would speak up only when I was sure that I had something well thought of to add to, something that would be insightful. But if the discussion drifted into areas I wasn't confident about, I would say quiet, I would listen, and I would smile. Even if I had a question or half an idea, I would hold it back because I did not want to take the risk of sounding unsure. I thought I was being smart, but really I was just afraid of not sounding competent. And in doing that, I missed chances to grow, to learn, and to connect more genuinely. Maybe for you, it shows up in your career. You avoid applying for roles that can stretch you. And even if you're drawn to them, because the idea of not being immediately competent, then that makes you uneasy to even apply for it. Or even in friendships where you play the helpful one, wise role, but rarely you open up about your own insecurities, about your own confusions. But the truth is, hiding behind competence can quietly trap you. You start to mistake safety for fulfillment. Growth only really happens when you are willing to look silly, when you're willing to mess up, when you're not afraid to ask silly questions which you really think are silly, but they're not silly. And the questions you even know answers to. Because stepping out of your comfort zone does not mean losing your strengths. It means that trusting that you are more aligned with them. Now, if you have any insights of your own, please let me know in the comments below. And with that, I will see you in the next video.